Hi, I'm Troy Kless with Ken's 5, and we're here talking about DeLorean, yes, coming back to the future. We can see the shadow of the new version of the DeLorean that will be rolling out very soon. And DeLorean is bringing its headquarters here to San Antonio. But why did they pick the Alamo City of all places? And what are they going to be doing here exactly? Well, we got the chance to sit down with DeLorean's current CEO, Joost de Vries, to talk about that and plenty more about the new version of this car that's got fans of the 1980s version pretty excited about this. And we got to talk to someone that turned an old DeLorean into a full-blown replica of the time machine from Back to the Future. So we got plenty of stuff that we talked about here. Let's dive right in.
We started the project with the DeLorean about 2.5 years ago. And I became the CEO after the first project failed, which was to electrify the old car. And we created a vision of building a new OEM. And I became the CEO of this company in December last year.
Gotcha. So since then, there's been a lot of teasing, for lack of a better term, that the DeLorean is coming back. So I think everyone wants to know about the car. What can we expect? What are we going to see from the design to everything? Let's start there.
That's a simple question. Everything. The first thing you're going to see is what happened the last 40 years. So the first thing we're going to do actually next month and later this month is to show you what models we're going to launch of the last 40 years that have never been seen by the public. Then next month, in May, you're going to see the car we're going to launch in Pebble Beach this year in August. We've teased that car a little bit, but you cannot just jump 40 years in history and not show the world what we have been doing in the last 40 years. So that's the first story you'll see from us.
So you mentioned models. What can we see? And we know it's going to be an electric car, right?
Yes.
So I'll start there. How big is the electric component in this piece of the puzzle and making a new car?
We are positioning ourselves as new energy. That means that the propulsion of the vehicle will always be electric. Where the power comes from can be from a variety of places. So the first vehicle we're going to launch now is what they call a battery electric vehicle. So it will be powered by batteries. The next car you're going to see from us is probably going to be hydrogen powered. It will still have electric drivetrain, but the power is coming from hydrogen. So new energy is more than just batteries. And I think the world is changing towards that vision right now.
So you mentioned we can see the car very soon. How much is it going to cost? Talk about price points and what additions can we see right now?
Well, we haven't launched price points yet, and we will not do that until August. The addition you're going to see publicly or digitally in May, June will be the coupe, which is a 2+2. You've seen the gull-wing doors from our teasers. You've seen a little bit of the back of the car, so you can see how muscular the rear of the vehicle is. We'll have a few more teaser shots where what they call spec frozen on the A-Class. So the car is designed outside and inside. We just use these coming weeks to tease a little more, then show our generational vehicles, and then launch the full car digital. And then in August you can touch the car, sit in it, play with it, and that is where everyone is working very hard towards.
Gotcha. So when can people order it too, if they're interested?
We're probably opening up order board in June-ish, early summer. There's no real need for us to be that early. I don't want to have people's money for the next 2 years waiting for a car. That makes no sense. We will open up the order board slowly. There will be a pre-series. We expect that will be sold out before we even go public. And then the regular production will probably open up in the summer.
And how many cars do y'all plan to produce out of the gate?
As little as we can get away with. There's nothing more powerful in sales than to sell no. We need the coupe for the brand. The coupe is awesome for the brand. It's our halo car. It will be a fantastic vehicle, but it's not where you can make a business case on. So to make a business case, you need an SUV or a high volume product, and that is really what's coming next.
Mm-hmm. So that being said, I mean, who's this car for?
This car is definitely for people who love to drive cars. We will be the absolute opposite of the iPad on wheels. So autonomous driving, when we have to, we'll have it. Adaptive cruise control, as long as there's an off button, it's fine. This is a car for people who love to drive. And everything we do in that vehicle, suspension-wise, performance-wise, comfort-wise, is for people who love to drive. This is not for people who just want to go from A to B.
So that being said, can you tell us a little bit about what's under the hood, or what's going to be in between the sets of wheels?
What's under the hood is empty space.
Yeah, yeah.
But it will be all-wheel drive. The battery pack will be what they call a floor-mounted battery pack, so it's in between the wheelbase. One of the reasons why our wheelbase is so big is because we have to package a lot of batteries. And that gave us an opportunity to make a coupe as a 2+2, because the wheelbase is so long. We are aiming for 300 miles EPA range, so our battery pack is probably going to be a little over 100 kilowatt. So it's a big battery pack. Performance-wise, we don't need to be a hypercar. So if you want to buy a 1.9 second car, there's plenty of other people who do that. Go buy that one. For us it is, you need to be fast enough that you're comfortable with. So I'd say in the 3 seconds. Top speed, we're limiting that at around 155. Beyond that you need to go to active aero for stability. So it'll be a fast car, but it is not trying to be a hypercar.
Okay. And so that being said, can you talk about the horsepower estimated, torque, the specs?
It is, the horsepower is not really applicable anymore in the EV world. It's more torque, and now there's a transition to go from engine torque or from motor torque to wheel torque. It'll be probably around that 800-900 Newton meter torque on the motors. So with the reductions, you're probably talking 12,000-13,000 Newton meter wheel torque. But it's very difficult to explain that to the public today. The public is more attuned to 0 to 60 and top speed, so we're trying to stay there.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I think about the car that for people that they love the DeLorean from what they saw in the movies and Back to the Future and everything, what is both different and similar compared to that car?
Very good question. This Saturday I was in Orlando in a little city called Celebration, and they have an annual festival there for exotic cars with a very active DeLorean owner community. So there were 21 DeLoreans physically present at that festival, and I talked to all the owners. And it was a very good proof point for us to see how would the people who own the old car or the classic car actually look upon the new car that we're trying to build. And what we've kept is the gull wing doors. That was a must-have. We've clinicked many different types of doors, and everybody was very aggressive the moment we let go of the gull wing doors. So gull wing doors are still there. From a design perspective, the classic DMC12 had a very iconic B-pillar. That shape is still in the vehicle. The classic had 4 headlights and a very pixelated rear lights. We kept that in the car too. So there's a very clear symmetry between the front end lighting and the rear end lighting of that vehicle. The stands obviously changed, the materials obviously changed, but we kept the louvers. We had a big fight about that internally because it's very 1980s. But we've all agreed that if engineering can come up with a louver system that adds aero efficiency, it's in. If it's just to look good, it's out. And they found a very, very nice way to aid aero. So it's back in the car. And people really reacted to those little styling details.
This is a 1981 DeLorean DMC12. They called it a DMC12, DeLorean Motor Corporation, and the 12, from what I understand, was supposed to signify the original MSRP of $12,000. And that didn't happen. When the cars were actually released, they were about double that figure, so they might have, better off been calling it a DMC24 or a DMC25. But that's what it is. This is a 1981 DeLorean that has been modified to look like the cars from Back to the Future.
So why'd you take up this project?
Because I love cars. And, I'm a child of the 80s. I named my son Maverick, if that gives you any idea of how much I love the 80s. And I love aviation and I love cars. And having a time machine, at least to me, this is the ultimate car. Some people like exotics that are cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and but to me, this is the most iconic car in the entire world. Anybody, anywhere on the face of the planet, they see this car and they immediately know what it is.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
What do you think when DeLorean, they have the Super Bowl commercial,
Yeah.
they've teased the return of a new version of the DeLorean. What do you think of that?
Incredibly exciting. Incredibly exciting. I can't wait to see what the car, looks like completely. From what I understand, they're going to be unveiling the car at Pebble Beach in August in California. And from the front profile I saw in the commercial with the gull wing doors coming up, and then of course, kind of showing the left driver's side recently. Kind of a photo came out of that. It looks great, but very excited about that. And even more exciting for me is it's in San Antonio. I mean, how amazing is that to have the headquarters for the new DeLorean Motor Corporation right here in my hometown? It's incredible. I mean, you think for something like that, LA, or even in Texas, Dallas, Houston, some gigantic city, but to have DeLorean in my own backyard I'm really excited about it.
So where does San Antonio come into all of this? Like, you guys are here, your headquarters are going to be here, and you're building them right now.
Yep.
So what's going to be happening here that contributes to these DeLoreans getting on the roads?
Most of the work here, as we ramp up now, it's going to be supply chain, supplier quality, raw engineering, software testing. We call that hardware in the loop and software in the loop, hill and mill, or SIL. Production validation, so the prototypes will be here. We'll do a lot of miles on them. We'll work with partners like the Southwest Research Institute, where they have a good test track that the public eye cannot see. Battery testing, so the raw engineering to make the car real. I mean, designing a car is one thing, production validation is another thing, but to actually bolt it together and validate it and test and crash and do those kind of things, that will all happen here in San Antonio.
Gotcha. And so we talked a little bit about it last week. So estimated 450 jobs in 5 years, all engineering jobs, right? That are going to be here.
Most of them, yeah. I would say 80% of our hires will be engineering. The 450 was the minimum promise. It's probably going to be a lot more than that, but that is what we had to promise the city and the county to make it interesting for them too. Gotcha. But the ambition is much bigger than that.
So you just brought up the city and the county. So why'd you pick San Antonio?
San Antonio is this hidden gem, and I think people who live here may be a little bit jaded about it because you don't know what you have when you're looking inside. But San Antonio has a fantastic automotive history. You have Caterpillar here, Tesla next door, Navistar just started, Toyota has been here a long time. A lot of automotive suppliers are here, like Raisin Automotive. A lot of suppliers from Mexico trying to come back over the border into Southwest Texas. The academia here, you have reasonable engineering scholarships here. University of Monterey is around the corner. They have a fantastic automotive program. You have done a lot of investment in software engineering, cybersecurity. All these things help automotive. So for us it became, after some other discussions in other states, it became a very logical place to be. And you guys are welcoming to businesses. You're open for business.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So that being said, I know that tomorrow you're going to be discussing, and your company is going to be in front of the city leaders to talk about, economic development, and it's still, still a couple $100,000 that we're talking here. So there is an investment on the city's part, and so I guess my question then, for people that, for the taxpayers, the people that live here, how are they going to see their return on investment, and how can you guarantee that you're committed to San Antonio and to making this product?
Fair question. And I think the first thing that taxpayers need to understand and the public needs to understand, we get nothing unless we perform. So if we hire a person, there's a certain incentive associated with that. And there are minimums required, and it's not just hiring a person, but it's also paid internships. There's a lot of rules around this. So we didn't want to go to the city and said, give us a bag of money and we'll come. No, it is when we grow, You benefit from that as a local city. Our average salaries are fairly high because it's engineering, it is in supply chain. So we're not bringing here lower level paying jobs, we're bringing very high paying jobs here. City will benefit with that a lot. People need to live, people need to eat, people need to shop. So we're bringing a big economic impact by bringing all those employees here.
Right now, talk about where we're at and what will we see change over the next couple of months here.
Okay. When we started in December, we were living in a single conference room downtown on Houston Street. It was great. 2 people, a round table and 1 TV. We moved to bigger offices there in downtown. We started hiring local people, and we are now in our first temporary building. So we're in Port San Antonio, next door to Port San Antonio headquarters. We're reconfiguring this to survive for the next 8-9 months, while the new building a little bit down the road here, also in Port San Antonio, is getting ready. That building should house between 250 and 300 people. And then the ultimate headquarters is a ground up new building we're building in a little bit further down the road in Port San Antonio on the corner as you enter Port San Antonio. Now that will be a collaboration with the port, and that is where we can actually grow to whatever we want to grow, multi-story building. Okay. So the building we're in now will be headquarters, engineering, a mix. We will leave this building from a headquarter perspective to the bigger building at the end of the year, and then we retain this building purely for raw engineering.
Okay, gotcha. So it's going to be a lot of, like you said,
moving.
Yeah, a lot of moving and a lot of the dirty work that goes into making the car.
Yeah, I mean, making a car is a very complicated puzzle. You have 3,500 pieces. You have to tie one hand behind your back, and then you need to put that thing in without a user manual. That's how you build a car. So a lot of great brains, a lot of engineering, a lot of supply chain people, a lot of testing and validation and making mistakes come into play before you're ready. And then you have to tell the government in the US that says, I am compliant. Here's all my testing, here's all my validation, and then you can hopefully get your license plate approvals from the different DMVs. It's a journey. It's an awesome journey, but it's a complicated journey.
Gotcha. So then, that being said, why should San Antonio be excited about this journey?
I think we're bringing very good paying jobs. I think we're making connections with the local academia now that sets ourselves up for a pipeline of new, fresh engineers that can flow into our company over the next 4 or 5 years. I think we're bringing the opportunity here of more automotive work. We've met with our colleagues from Navistar. We've met with other colleagues from the San Antonio Manufacturers Association, and people are scared and people are excited because the more automotive comes here, the bigger the draw will be of bringing people into the state that might not work here, or people from outside of San Antonio that can come here. San Antonio is growing extremely fast, and the more high quality companies develop here and build their headquarters here, make San Antonio stronger in the battle for the economic growth.
Gotcha. Circling back to the car, it was an 80s icon, but then, you know, as we know, car behavior, car buyers, they all change their behavior. So what's different this time around compared to when this car rolled out in the 80s?
I think the market's different. Europe has now moved beyond internal combustion engines. Norway now, last year, had 72% of all cars sold were pure electric. So gas is dead. Here in the US, we're living in an extremely good environment for energy. I know everybody cries at the pump, but when you're used to $12 a gallon of gas, the choice for an electric vehicle becomes fairly easy. So Europe, we know our powertrain choices are done. Middle East is growing very, very quickly towards new energy, and US is starting. I mean, California last year was 6% of all vehicles were electrified. They're pushing very hard to get it higher. All the CARB states that are now 15 are trying to push very hard for new energy. There's room for internal combustion engines for many, many more decades to come in the US, but there is a transition going for people who want the luxury of quiet, the luxury of no shifting, and that's the benefits of electric. On top of that, it reduces your carbon footprint. But we are building the car initially for the people who really want to drive cars. So for them, it's about the comfort, the quietness, the speed, the torque, a fun car.
Yeah. And that's what the DeLorean's going to be.
That is what we absolutely want to be. Yes.
I think besides that, I mean, what you said there about gas being dead. So electric cars, they've been around, but now, that we see, Tesla and all the other automotive makers that are trying to get into this space, but it's still is it uncharted territory still that we're going into?
Yeah, I think it is. And there's different parts of the world that have very different needs. Europe is much more densely populated. They don't have long distances. People don't commute very long. The public charging network is there to absorb electric vehicles. The US is not ready for this yet. In the whole of San Antonio, there's one level 3 charger, one, at a Walmart parking lot. So when I have my electric car and I have to charge 3 times a week, I have to go to a specific Walmart parking lot to charge in 40 minutes. It's not convenient. People are not ready for that. If you have a house, you can charge overnight in a level 2. But if you don't have a house and live in an apartment like many San Antonios do, where do you go to charge? And it is these kind of things that make people think. So most OEMs today start in the higher end of the market because the product is still very expensive. Those type of people tend to have homes that tend to be able to charge at home, so they're not as dependent on a public charging network. And it will take time. I mean, the market will balance itself out, but for now, it is uncharted territory for most people.
So if you're wondering what's at stake for the city of San Antonio in this, well, the city council agreed to pay economic incentives to DeLorean over time. That's a little over $500,000 that they've agreed to pay as long as DeLorean meets their job creation milestones. So the city did not pay any money up front. And again, this is all performance-based. The company will also be getting some property tax breaks from Bexar County. Again, this is all dependent on the growth that DeLorean hopes to create with its new headquarters, where all the testing and engineering of this new car will be going on. And the car itself, we got a chance to see some of the renderings that are going to be coming out pretty soon. Hopefully sometime in May or June, we'll see the virtual version of this car. And I got to tell you, I think people are going to love this car, from its ties to the old DeLorean to some of the modern features and expectations that we have for the modern electric vehicle. I think a lot of people are going to be pretty happy with this, and pretty happy that all of this work is going to be taking right here in San Antonio. For Ken's 5, I'm Troy Kless.